I need something that's exciting me in my life. And I'd spent my life in wrestling, so when the WCW thing came up, and it seemed like a good thing. But what came back on me was all the things I was trying to get out of my life, plus to go into Turner Broadcasting, which is such a clusterfuck, and have these guys that have their own agendas, and I was supposed to be given total autonomy. Instead, I couldn't fire anybody that was in the main office. They all had an angel hidden somewhere in these 30 companies up there, and so pretty soon you're spending more time pulling the arrows out of your back than doing your work. You're having to defend yourself all the time, and everybody's got a different agenda.
How'd you get in there in the first place? How did that come about in '92?
Ted Turner's personal attorney, Tench Cox, and Ted had that deal with me that he screwed me out of, but he knew I could run the wrestling business. The Crockett thing with Ted and Vince has screwed me out of my deal. I already had a deal with Ted, and we were going to co-promote together worldwide. And he put my show on, and he never was locked in and still outrated his shows. And I bought an airplane so I could start flying my staff back and forth to Atlanta, and we were going to promote. But Vince had the contract and wouldn't give the contract up. So Ted called me and said, "Don't worry, I got to get him off. It'll take me a few weeks for my legal department, but everything's solid." The next thing I know, there was a deal that was purported to be that Crockett and Turner read into each other at the yacht club, and Crockett said, "Look, I want that deal Watts has got. I'll go buy Vince out. I'll give Vince $1 million and get rid of him for you if you'll let me take it over." And that's supposedly how it happened. So I got screwed.
Right.
So, but anyway, when I came back to work through that, and I met with Ted, and everything was going to be all right, but then Ted is too insulated, and I had to go through a guy named Bill Shaw, who's, as far as wrestling is concerned, is a complete idiot, and always had his own hidden agenda, and was so subversive. And there was a neat guy there named Bob Dew that was supposed to work with me for a year, and then I was supposed to run everything. Bob was a neat guy. He was president of the Omni. And Bob, though, at that time had a lot of freedom, and he was not there a lot. So we had all these different things going on, but I couldn't get rid of the bottom line is they asked me if I could keep the losses under $8 million.
Right, I know that.
And I brought it in at, I think, $400,000 or $800,000 loss, which blew them away. The accountant down there I was wanting to fire kept telling them I was going to go over $8 million. Instead of bringing it in for $800,000 or $400,000, they wouldn't even write a letter of commendation about that. That's how screwed up that place was, and it was just a clusterfuck.
I guess when you first got in there, a lot of guys were pissed that you came in there because they all had contract negotiation with Kip Fry, and then I guess Arn Anderson.
Yeah, they stupid contracts, and agents, and Turner Broadcasting's legal staff is all lawyers that have generally failed in general practice. They can't get a job anywhere else, so they go to work for Turner Broadcasting, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. I mean, if you looked at the contracts that the wrestlers had, you'd think that the wrestlers and their agent wrote the contract, and Turner Broadcasting just rolled over and honored it.
Right.
They were that one-sided and stupid. And you had to come back somewhere to where there was a balance, and where that the athlete was held accountable. So we started doing cycles based on the cycles on television, and we had ways of getting out of the contracts. You can't have a contract that you're just paying all the money and there's no way out of it, and the guy doesn't have to perform. I mean, hell, the guys had days off, they had this, they had that, and I don't mind the days off, but if you're running a company, you've got to have the ability to know who you've got to put together to make things go.
What were some of the first things you did as far as changing things around there?
Oh, I don't remember. I think cycles and different contracts. We were going to do drug testing. We wanted to clean that up. We did some things about the ring where we took away the mats on the floor. We stopped them from coming off the top rope or the top turnbuckle. Didn't stop it, made it a disqualification.
Right.
Which put some mystery in it.
Right.
And we did a lot of things, and we made sure that the guys were going back and rugged out there and hooking it up and really busting their ass out there. We had some things going the right directions, and then we had to try to re-educate the TBS people who really didn't want wrestling. They'd rather replace it with a movie, except let me tell you, wrestling is the only thing Ted Turner's had on his station that outrates his station average. And so Ted's smart enough not to let him get rid of it. But we had a lot of people that didn't want wrestling.
Was it hard getting the boys to listen to you with all the new rules?
Yeah, sure. It was not so much the rules. They didn't mind the shit the boys could go. It was just the turmoil of certain guys that had big fat contracts that weren't doing anything, or guys that you needed to get rid of.
Getting back to house shows and stuff, you started putting emphasis on house shows again, starting doing title changes, non-TV and stuff like that.
Well, I think you have to.
Right.
You've got fans that still pay for those house shows. And I think if you put everything on pay-per-view, which we know that's a bigger arena, But if you make, first of all, then pretty soon they know that nothing has any meaning in a house show. So I think that's wrong. I think fans should be able to come to every match wondering what's going to happen instead of coming to every match knowing what's going to happen.
Right.
You know, let me tell you, John Wayne didn't kill any Indians, but he didn't ride off in the sunset with his arm around him at the end of the fucking movie.
It's true.
So I just believe that the fans like to be mystified. They like to be challenged. They like to think they got you figured out, but you can't let them have you figured out.
I guess in the locker room you had a reputation of being hard to deal with and stuff like that. As far as that's a lot of people's,
You know, I think a lot of guys blow a lot of shit up. If you know, I'm more of a Lombardi or Mike Ditka type. I say what I think,
Right.
and I'm very passionate about what I want, and I demonstrate that passion. And if they're not doing it the way I think it needs to be done, then they get their ass chewed. But I think that they all knew they were respected as not only as athletes but as human beings, and that everything I was trying to get them to do was to better the business or their career. Now, a guy that didn't make it with me or didn't fit with me, he would have a bad attitude toward me.
Right.
But most of the guys that have wrestled under me that are still stars have listen, they didn't have to take me to dinner. I buy my own dinner. The respect I got was because I deserved it or demanded it. And that's what it all gets down to. I don't have to like the son of a bitch I'm working for if I think he's right or I think I respect him. There was times that Vern Gagne and I had really differences of opinion, but I respected Vern Gagne. Didn't agree with everything he did. And get really frustrated and pissed off at him, but I respected him. So the bottom line is any wrestler that has a brain knows that I cared about the business.
Right.
And I was trying to make the business better. It wasn't just my agenda, it's what I thought needed to be for the business. And you can look at WCW today, the clusterfuck it is.
Right.
You see the end result of letting the inmates run the asylum.
The legend of Bill Watts is if you don't do something right, sometimes you come to the dressing room and you'll let the guy have it or whatever. But
Let him have it verbally.
Chris Candido was saying to somebody that there was one time where he wasn't selling in the ring and you might have hit him or something like that, and said, "No, that's how you sell." Chris Candido.
Who is Chris? I don't remember him. Well, yeah, I would first of all, I grab them when they come in. Later, I set up a video thing where they could go right to their video with Ole Anderson, and he could start correcting them.
Right.
But I figured that's the time to get them and show them. And yeah, if a guy didn't sell right, I brought him in and showed him how. Now, did I hit him in a shoot manner? Shit, no.
Okay.
Oh, hell no. Hell, I'm 60 years old. Who the hell can I whip?
Right.
But yeah, did I get in their face and show them how to throw a punch right, or show them how to kick right, or show them how to sell right? Yeah. And the thing, let me give you a friends. How many guys you see in the corner, a guy's strangling him, he's got his hands down here on the ropes. Now you stop and think, if a son of a bitch is strangling you, where's your hands going to be? Up there trying to get his hands off.
Right.
So I may come up and say, okay, you saw it, and I may strangle him real quick by shutting off their air for. Now that's how you do it.
Right.
Now they remember that. But the bottom line, hell, I was 55 years old when I was at WC. Who the shit can a 55-year-old guy whip?
Right.
So I mean, no, I didn't intimidate anybody physically. Maybe with my passion. Again, it depends that if the guy that loves the business, then the passion is going to help him. The guy that's just there and ain't made it or not going to make it, the passion then is going to piss him off. But I mean, the bottom line is they have a right to their feelings, and I have a right to my feelings, and I'm going to express. Ditka said it. He said, I'm used to coaching guys that want to play football, not babysitting. And Lombardi and Bill Parcells. Hell, you guys are around that area. Does he tell them what he thinks of them?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So guys, everybody has a different way of doing it. I just don't kiss their ass if they're out there screwing up.
When you worked for Atlanta, what was it like working with all the committees and all the bullshit and the politics?
Bullshit.
Right.
Time consuming, wasted time, and then they'd spend money that was unbelievable, and you'd have to have. I finally thought they ought to just have the fucking booking committee down there where they have Talk Back Live and have everybody in it.
Right.
But that's what they wanted, so I just knew I wasn't going to be there long. I held on because, the first job they wanted me to do was fire Dusty. Instead, I walked in and said, I'm here, I'm your boss. My first job is to fire you. Can we work together, Dream? And we work together, and Dusty's tremendously creative. And Dusty will be the first one to tell you, I fined his ass. I fined him $1,000 when he kept doing some shit I told him not to do.
All right.
But he got the message. And he's still hanging on, or was.
If you were to come back, what do you think WCW would need to do to change?
WCW, first of all, they'd have to give somebody autonomy, which they promised me, but that was a lie.
I said if there was one guy that could change things around right now in
Yeah.
WCW, it would definitely be
Yeah,
you.
it would be. They'd have to give me autonomy and then back it. And they'd have to analyze it from what I was doing instead of what they thought I was doing, based on what a bunch of idiots that don't know anything about it are analyzing it.